which we have to get into, is that with the Lou Reed and Velvet Underground stuff, we keyed with Sylvia Reed on all the packaging, and she was a super creative force. She got along with Judith and I, and we did, the concepts are unreal. The poster, the Velvet Live Tour poster is unreal, won a lot of awards. The Peel Off Banana, limited edition, Mylar with a Dayglow banana disc. Another great, but that was an interesting part of our life, because in my life, by myself, working with Talking Heads was a treat, and with Judith and I working with Sylvia Reed was this unified thing, which didn't necessarily have to happen. Usually you get somebody come in, it could be really a torture, theoretically it could be, but it wasn't. It was a blend. Creative blend of great design.
What was the easiest album cover for you to design, and what was the hardest?
Yeah, the easiest were, well, Marsha Crenshaw is definitely easy, and because of Drew's help too. But Fear of Music, believe it or not, because of the elements and the people I was working with, and all of us combined, was easy. Everything went through smooth. It just, and you brought up a very interesting point. Those are the things, those are your best things. I mean, the ones that, the flow,
right?
Even a logo, designing a logo, sometimes the first thing in your head that you,
that's right,
bombastic.
Yeah.
And no, that's a good point.
Totally agree. We're talking art, we're talking album art in particular. And I think this is one of the most fascinating forms of art on the planet, because it's something that reaches everybody.
There's two things we're going to be in on the present. One's the Cream magazine movie, The History of Cream.
Oh my gosh.
We're getting interviewed in that with Alice Cooper, and name anybody, Michael Stipe and Joan Jett's in the movie, and interviews. And we're also in a very big Velvet Underground show that's starting to get announced now in New York. A lot of our pieces are in it for Lou Reed, Velvet Underground, Ramones, and Talking Heads. That's going to be, it's in October to December. And it's at 718 Broadway. It's going to be in New York. It's already been established.
It's in September.
October 10th to December 30th.
I got to see that.
Yeah, that's going
to be pretty awesome.
I think
we have Lou Reed's
we have Lou Reed and
ex-wife
Velvet
involved.
Yeah, Sylvia Reed's involved with us in our life.
She'll have some
interesting things to say.
Yeah.
One of my earliest jobs was co-designing the print ads. You got to get ready for this. John Lennon's Imagine album. That's where I start. That's one of my first jobs I did in music. I ran into somebody who knew from college. I said, I need design help. And he didn't even look at what I did. He said, and we worked together on it. And it's for the Imagine album, the trade ads.
Right.
I worked with Apple and Alan Steckler, and I think I visited John and Yoko twice.
Yeah, and their apartment?
They had a place in the West Village. They were in the West Village, and they had a townhouse. But that's how I started. And then, I got into doing early ESP disc records. That's how the first label I worked for, who had the Fugs and a group called the Gots that Lester Bangs wrote a big article on in Cream. And it was a very funky, rebellious label. And I repackaged like Pharoah Sanders albums, jazz, Bob James. From there, I went to Sire, fell into that, Pretenders, Ramones, Talking Heads, whatever, Lou Reed, and then I ran to Judith. Then Judith comes into my life.
Okay, talk about when you met Judith. She
1982.
Waitress, right?
1982. That's the year the Marsha Crenshaw album was completed. That's when I met Judith, actually, 1982. And we've been at the
and you were working on
restaurant.
Marsha Crenshaw.
Working on Marsha Crenshaw,
which is a great album cover.
It's historic. The first one's beautiful. And it's interesting, which you should know, a lot of people don't know, it's actually oil-based, color tinted, oil-based, which there's a lot of color tinting is not oil-based. This was oil. So when you saw the original album cover before it's printed, the colors are outrageous.
Yeah, there's a splash of yellow that goes through the middle of the table, from what I remember.
Right.
And
I don't know why I remember.
what's great about it is because even in the printing, although it crosses over into printing where you lose some of this, you really don't. It's still very colorful, which is as because of the the oil-based
Right.
prints that you use. That's the reason why the color's really vibrant. That's
What
true.
are some of your favorite
Let's-
album covers?
Well, we got
that we love?
Fear of Music that I worked on, co-design with Talking Heads, has got to be one of the most iconic covers. That was nominated for a Grammy in '79. It's in the MoMA collection. That's an historic with the pattern.
Was
It
that the red?
The black?
No,
No, it's the
that
black.
was- with that-
The black grid.
Yes.
And the
okay,
green
yeah.
type, and I worked with David Byrne, Jerry
and that
Harrison.
grid was that design came from, what is it called?
Well,
The
it's,
sun in the streets. They have that
Manhole
design.
covers?
Manhole
but it goes
covers,
back
yeah.
further than
Yeah.
that.
And-
Actually, what happened was Jerry Harrison visited Tina Weymouth's brothers, who's an architect, and he had that pattern on the floor.
Yeah, that's
That's how
that
it
metal.
starts.
That metal grape.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
But he had it on a different, like a vinyl material, a different
Oh.
material on the floor. So Jerry saw that and he said, wow, that's how it started. And then I worked with David Byrne on typography, and I had a strong Yale back. I went to Bridgeport, but the whole faculty was from Yale. So I had this incredible, one of the top school backgrounds in typography.
Funny you should mention that. I
Yeah.
was talking to Patrick earlier about when I was getting my master's degree. My main professors were from Oxford and Yale.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter where you go. If your main professor is from Oxford and Yale,
Yeah.
you went to Oxford and Yale.
Yeah,
That's right. So,
that's
so,
true.
and I learned that,
You're
and
lucky.
David, who went to this is the other hookup because they went to RISD, and so you have Chris, Tina Weymouth, and David going to RISD. Jerry Harrison went to Harvard, believe it or not.
Rochester Institute of Technology.
And the thing that I got to bring in is RISD and Yale have the same Joseph Albers base in the design where you learn design. Joseph Albers is the base of that design in both those schools. So that's why, bring it all together, that's why we mesh together. And I didn't think, I freaked out. I said, they threw me into David Byrne. I said, oh my God, I'm perspiring, because David Byrne, his personality, if you know his personality. But we worked together. You love my stuff.
Yeah.
You love my design. And I was doing 45s and things like that. That's one cover. Judith and I worked on an amazing cover called Victory for a group called Victory.
Oh my gosh, Victory.
And Judith could tell. Judith, you tell her the
Well,
story.
I mean, Victory is just
Iconic cover though.
Yeah, but was it ever released?
Yeah, it was released.
It was released.
It was
Well,
released.
explain what the Victory cover looks like.
So Victory, it's a black and white photo, and
Jeffrey Thomas.
Jeffrey Thomas was the photographer, and it's a picture of this very sexy young woman. She's lying on some table. She's wearing this black outfit, leather outfit, and she has her legs spread open into a V. So, and she's
V for
wearing these-
Victory, I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so
And other things.
and she's wearing these like spike heels. So her left leg is pointing to the V, and her right leg is pointing to the Y. And
Letter
then
space
Victory
letters
in the
across. Very
center.
simple. But the thing that makes
So that
it
was
is,
the
and,
cover.
it was Judith's concept.
Who got
is
the girl to do that position though?
the photographer?
The
photographer. But
I think it was the photographer's wife's sister
Right.
that did it.
and
That
the
was
thing.
the model.
Yes.
But the thing that makes the cover, which,
Yeah.
by the way, whenever we did a profile, they profiled us in anything, magazines in Japan or whatever, they wanted that cover. It's a Helmut Newton-esque type
Yeah.
photograph.
Well,
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous
So
photograph.
we love that cover too. Even
We love
though
that
it's
cover.
kinda-
Marshall Crenshaw, of course, which we just described as one of our favorites. And then Ramones, I worked on End of the Century and Road to Ruin. Those are classic covers with Mick Rock doing
Very
the End of the
simple.
Century cover. Right, very simple. John Holmstrom doing the cartoon on Road to Ruin. So those are two iconic covers.
There's one Ramones album. The only thing I've ever seen where they're not wearing leather jackets.
That's the one.
That's a
That's
t-shirt.
End of the Century.
It's
You're talking.
see.
Mick Rock,
Sometimes
yeah.
I don't always remember the title, but I remember the shot.
That's
and
the shot.
I go, wow, they don't have any of their leather jackets on.
And you know what? Mick shot with leather jackets and without it. But if you look at both of them, the one without it looks more intense with the T-shirts. Something about it that brings you into it. And you know, the record label wanted that because they wanted to cross over the group into more commercial status.
They wanted to make them pop.
Yeah,
Because
more
you had
softer
rock and roll
look.
high school and all that stuff going on.
What I was going to say is the Joan Jett jump
Oh, Joan Jett jump shot.
That is the best shot of Joan Jett.
It's
I think it's the.
amazing. We
she,
love that cover.
She looks very. Let me just say, she looks very pretty.
Right.
And that.
Hot.
The
Really
beauty,
hot.
The beauty comes out.
And it's photographed by Dieter Zill. It was done in Germany. Meryl Laguna gave us the transparency. The first thing I said to Kenny, I said, there's going to be no type on the cover.
Yeah, that was Spencer's idea.
Yeah, I like
to
that.
do it.
We're doing a clear sticker. It goes up to shrink wrap, and then you're left with this image. And that's both of us. We worked on the cover together. It's a beautiful one. The Lou Reed New York album,
And
the
we also,
Magic
I
and
also
Lost
like the
album, too.
interior of that.
Yeah, we
Going
did a
back to
fold
that.
out. It's a fold out with a lot of photographs.
And when
See,
you
I like
open
that
it,
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they, you know, the manager gave us just hundreds of photographs. I mean, it was like, you know, pick whatever you want to put on this cover. I mean, in the album.
And sorry.
package.
So you have
So we just sit
yeah,
around picking. Well, yeah.
a lot of
So
stuff.
the interior has lots of photographs.
Yeah, I got to tell them that one page of the inner right is all these pictures. On the left, you have a color photograph by Mick Rock, surrounded by black and white
Photographs.
live images by Robert Ellis of Joan live in concert. So you hit with the left side with color, black and white pictures going around. On the right, you got a bunch of those photos that you were just talking about, of the travel photos.
Right.
So it was like this. When you open it up, you got a real treat visually.
Yeah, you got your money's
Well,
worth.
let me just mention two more albums that we have to mention before
Okay.
we go on to the next topic.
Fair enough.
The New York album, Lou Reed, and Magic and Lost, which Judith had a big play in. With alchemy symbols, and it was integration of things like that into a visual picture that was given us by
And it was also
Louis
the-
Jamais.
and the
And the
image-
metal box, and we did a metal,
Yeah.
limited edition metal box, which is gorgeous. Metal box design, and that series is beautiful too. And the New York album's interesting because that's based on an old photograph Lou saw and wanted to do a concept.
From the 30s.
In the 30s,
photograph from the
it's like
30s.
guys in an alley or men in
Sort
an
of
alley.
like,
Five
you
men
know,
in an
these-
alley. And so he dressed up 5 different ways, right? And Waring Abbott photographed it and stripped it together in computer, right?
It was
Yeah.
a picture that was taken, I think, during the Depression in the 30s
Mm.
of these men that were waiting. I think they were waiting in line for food or something like that. It was one of these
Depression era photo.
Yeah, and so Lou loved that photo, and then it was we recreated. It was recreated in computers.
In computer.
But all the different persons were Lou in different positions.
I get it. Yeah, that's cool.
So it was all
Yeah.
Lou, you know, at all these positions. That was the cover.
And Waring Abbott shot it, and then the Magic and Lost album shot by Louis Jamais. It's a gorgeous album cover, and that says alchemy symbols, key to the song titles. And Judith worked
Well, that actually-
Judith worked close with Sylvia Reed on
Yes.
that.
Well, I'm going to die from that because
Sure, sure.
I actually
It's a beautiful thing she did.
painted. He went on tour. Lou Reed went on tour with that when he went on tour with that album, and he I painted the symbols that they, you know, what is it into the
Slides.
the
Yeah.
slides. There were these glass slides that they would.
He loved them. He loved
It
them.
would come down on the stage, and it would like be 40 feet. I mean, 40. How big? I mean, I don't
know.
remember. It was huge. It was like on stage. So what I used, the paint I used, I think was really toxic, and I'm probably gonna die.
Yeah, she would be with a mask. I go into the studio, I see Judith with a mask. I say, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how she lived. It was incredible.
But you know.
Well, we all have a tendency to want to sniff the paint.
But it was pretty
Deal
cool
with
it.
just
And
to
Lou
go to
loved
the
it. Lou
show and
loved it.
see the,
Yeah.
you know, that symbol right on stage that I painted.
Painted,
I
right.
painted that symbol. It's on stage. It's like 40 feet by 40 feet. So
that
that's
is
a pretty.
incredible, yeah.
That was a high.
Yeah. I like to know what the process is. Do you listen to the music
I have
first?
to listen to music.
Okay.
We have a story
So,
for
yeah,
you
what-
about that.
Okay, go ahead.
We'll give you. So one of the musicians we have not yet mentioned that we worked with was Bon Jovi, and we designed his very first album cover. So he comes into our studio, John, with a tape. He's got a tape with him, and it's like we're going to design the cover, the 12-inch for it. So he says, you got to listen to this. So we listened to it, and it was amazing. It was
Runaway.
It was Runaway,
Yeah.
the single Runaway, and he was recording in the studio at the time. And when he left, I turned to Spencer and I go, "Oh my God, this guy is going to be like," no one knew who he was at this point. He was playing in bars in New Jersey. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
I said, "This guy is going to be like excuse my French, epic, believable. He's going to the
Sell
moon.
a
He's
million.
going as far. He's going
Yeah,
to
but
be a
don't-
billion."
don't forget his uncle worked at the power station.
Well, that's where he was recording.
We worked with Tony also. We worked with Tony Bon Jovi on other things. He had other albums going on with himself.
Amazing albums.
Yeah,
He was
Yeah.
part
exactly.
But when
Yeah.
but then Spencer turns to me and says, "Are you kidding me, Judith?"
I said, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
This guy,
That's
no
it. And I
way.
never wanted to tell the story in the beginning because I was embarrassed. But then later I said, "Oh, screw it." I said, "This is a
He
fun
didn't
story."
think he was, but then
I really didn't think. But
he
you know
shot-
what? I did. We worked on another. I got to bring this in because it has to do with it. Billy Squier, "Don't Say No," which got me on MTV.
Huge album. Let me just
Huge
say,
album, yeah.
5 hits on that album?
Oh yeah, and why I want to bring this up is because they called me. Mitch Schoenbaum was A&R then, so he calls me up. I don't know what this is going on. He says, "Spencer, I want you to come down to Capitol Records." This is like 1:00 in the morning. So I camp it down there, and he puts the tape on a Billy, right? And the songs are unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like different than Bon Jovi. This is like you're hearing a home run, with all
For you,
the
it was
songs.
so-
Yeah.
And then I go back, and then Billy comes in, and we had to do the how long it took? 48 hours.
For that?
48
I mean,
yes.
it's just
to
it's
do
a
the
photo
album.
where he's
He had to
sitting-
we had to physically do the album, and he had to fly it over to L.A.
Oh, I see.
to have it produced as a legal thing. And so Jeffrey Thomas comes into our studio. He runs down with Billy down to a bathroom and shoots Billy with his. If you notice, the foot is barefoot.
Yeah.
Which the record label went crazy over. He said, "How can you have a barefoot?" Anyway, that's the front cover, and we had this. I gave it. We changed the photograph into a color Xerox to make it very raw with typewriter type. It was a raw album.
Yeah.
It was the best album he ever did. He had Reinhold Mack producing it, who gave him a raw sound which he never had before or after, which is unreal. And with those songs, right? It was
incredible. I think
incredible.
4 or 5 hits off the top of my mind.
Yeah, but to answer your question about how we start with album covers, it's each package, each musician that comes along and have requesting some whatever design. It's different. It's different for everyone. Some musicians aren't that interested in being involved, and some of them have to be like Bon Jovi. He used to come to our studio, and in those days there were no computer. It was paste up and mechanicals.
Right.
It was a very slow process.
But
he wanted to be there for every minute of the design of his album
I'll tell you
cover.
something. He never changed it. The thing that we have going, which is very amazing, I was brought up in advertising first, and I was brought up with changes every 40. If you know advertising,
Yeah,
there are changes
changes
going
by
on
the minute.
every day, by the minute and in the day. We never had, and I'm going to say this is the truth. It sounds like a story, but it's not. We've never had any album cover change.
Rejected.
Rejected. And
That's
all
great.
of all the album covers we never had, or someone saying we got to do this, you got to change this, never had that.
Broadcasting from the Rock and Roll Bomb Shelter.
I'm ready.
Surrounded by radioactive biscuits and the world-famous Rock Hives, located 40 feet beneath the radio station. It's the Big Fat American Rock Show with your host, the Doc of Rock, the Professor, everyone's favorite mad music magician, crazy uncle, and your best friend in the whole wide world, Zach Martin.